Captain Maya Torres stepped out of the military truck, her boots sinking slightly into the dusty ground of the secret base. The sun was just setting, painting the desert sky in shades of red and orange, but nothing about the place felt warm. It was quiet, too quiet. She looked around and realized this wasn't an ordinary army base. The walls were tall, surrounded by electric fences and guards with no names on their uniforms. Every soldier she saw had the same blank expression, as if emotions were forbidden here. This was no regular mission site, it was a black site. Maya had been called back urgently from her short leave. She didn't know why. The message was simple and cold. Report immediately to Base 47, Priority Alpha. She had served her country for more than a decade, worked on top-secret missions, and saved more lives than she could count. But this was different. Something about this recall felt personal and not in a good way. On her shoulder hung her old army backpack. It was worn out, the zippers a little loose, the fabric faded from years of sandstorms and rain. But Maya never replaced it. It wasn't just a bag, it carried memories. Inside it were the few things she truly cared about. An old photo of her squad, a small notebook full of codes and mission notes, a dull silver medal that once shone proudly, and a tiny encrypted drive from her last mission in Syria. That drive contained sensitive information she was supposed to deliver personally to her superior officer. She thought she was doing the right thing bringing it straight here. As she approached the main gate, 2 guards stopped her. One of them raised his rifle slightly, not in threat but in caution. The other stepped forward and asked for her ID. Maya handed it over calmly. The guard scanned it, then glanced at her with suspicion. "Captain Torres, right?" he asked. She nodded. "You weren't supposed to be back yet," he muttered almost to himself. Maya frowned. "I was ordered to report here. Is there a problem?" The guard didn't answer. Instead, he called over another officer. Within seconds, 3 soldiers surrounded her. One of them pointed at her backpack. "We'll need to inspect your bag, ma'am," he said flatly. Maya hesitated. "That's personal equipment. My clearance covers." He cut her off. "Orders from command. All incoming personnel get checked. Especially today." Something about his tone made her uneasy, but she handed over the bag anyway. The guard took it and placed it on a metal table under a harsh spotlight. Another soldier began to open it, searching through every pocket. They pulled out her photo, her notebook, and finally the medal. The medal caught the light for a second. It was scratched and old, but still carried a certain power. It wasn't just a decoration. It was a story of bravery, one she didn't like to talk about. Years ago, she had earned it after saving her entire squad from an ambush. It wasn't about glory. It was about survival. But the soldier holding it now looked unimpressed. He turned to his partner and said quietly, "These things don't mean much anymore." Maya's jaw tightened. She wanted to say something, to remind him of the lives behind that medal, but she stayed silent. She knew arguing would only make things worse. The guards kept searching, taking out the encrypted drive next. They exchanged a quick look, one that didn't escape Maya's sharp eyes. That drive seemed to make them nervous. One of the guards slipped it into a small black box labeled evidence. That word hit her like a punch. Evidence? Of what? "Is there a problem with my belongings?" Maya asked firmly. No one answered her. One of the guards finally said, "You'll need to come with us, Captain. Command will handle the questioning." Maya looked around once more. The air felt heavier now, filled with something she couldn't name. The soldiers' faces gave nothing away, but their silence spoke volumes. They didn't trust her. As they led her through the tall gates, she noticed how every camera on the walls seemed to turn toward her. The base itself looked like a fortress. No banners, no signs, no insignia. Just endless gray concrete and the hum of machines underground. She had worked in dangerous zones before, but this was different. This place felt like it was hiding something or someone. Inside, the corridors were dimly lit and eerily clean. Every step she took echoed down the hallways. She could feel the eyes watching her, though she couldn't see who they belonged to. Her instincts screamed that something was wrong. When they finally stopped, The lead guard handed her backpack to a technician and walked away without a word. The technician placed it on a scanner and started running tests. Maya stood quietly, her heart pounding. She thought about the metal, the drive, and the strange urgency behind her recall. None of it made sense. Then she remembered something her late commander once told her. In a place where everyone's watching, trust the silence. It's the only thing that tells the truth. As the heavy doors closed behind her, Maya knew she had just walked into a trap or a test. Either way, there was no turning back. The base might have taken her backpack, but they had no idea what they had really touched. That old metal wasn't just metal. It carried a secret she herself didn't fully understand yet. And soon, the entire black site would find out just how powerful that small, forgotten piece of her past truly was. The metal door behind Maya closed with a heavy thud, echoing down the long corridor. 2 guards walked beside her, silent and strict, their boots clicking on the cold floor. Every few steps, a red light blinked from the security cameras above. Maya could feel that each movement was being watched and recorded. She had been through interrogations before, but never as a suspect. This was different. The air inside the base felt heavy, like it carried secrets no one dared to speak. They finally stopped in front of a checkpoint where another soldier waited behind a thick glass window. He looked at Maya with suspicion, then pressed a button to open the next security gate. The sound of steel grinding filled the air. Maya followed the guards inside, and they guided her toward a metal table in the middle of a large inspection room. Her old backpack was already there. One of the guards gestured for her to step back. "We'll handle this, Captain," he said firmly. Maya crossed her arms but didn't argue. She watched as they laid out everything from her bag, her photo, her notebook, the metal, and the small encrypted drive. Each item was scanned carefully, as if they expected something dangerous to appear. A tall officer entered the room. His uniform was neat, his expression sharp. His name tag was missing, replaced by a blank patch. That was never a good sign. He was someone high up, someone who worked in the kind of shadow soldiers like Maya rarely got to see. "I'm Colonel Reeves," he said in a deep voice. "You're Captain Maya Torres, formerly with Intelligence Command, correct?" "Yes, sir," she replied calmly. Reeves nodded slowly. "Then you know the rules. Nothing enters this base without clearance. That includes personal items." "With respect, sir," Maya said. "I was told to report immediately. There wasn't time for a clearance transfer. My bag has been with me since my last mission. Everything inside has already been approved by command." Reeves looked at her for a long moment, then turned to the guards. "Proceed." They continued their search, checking every fold of the fabric, even cutting open a side pocket. When they found her medal, one of the soldiers picked it up, turning it under the harsh white light. "This old thing?" he said with a small smirk. Maya looked at him sharply. "That old thing was earned saving 6 lives," she said. Her tone was calm, but there was steel in her eyes. The room went quiet for a moment. The soldier lowered his gaze and placed the medal on the table. Reeves, however, didn't seem moved. He focused on the small encrypted drive instead. "What's on this?" he asked. "Encrypted intelligence from my last mission," Maya replied. "Coordinates and communication logs. It was classified as priority red. I was instructed to hand it over personally." Reeves leaned closer. "Who gave you that instruction?" "My superior officer, Major Hensley." Reeves' expression changed slightly, but only for a second. "Major Hensley," he repeated, as if testing the name. "He was reassigned 3 weeks ago." That caught Maya off guard. "Reassigned? To where?" Reeves didn't answer. Instead, he motioned to one of the guards, who took the drive and placed it inside a sealed container marked evidence hold. Maya's eyes narrowed. "Evidence? What exactly am I being accused of?" Reeves didn't look at her. "No one said you're being accused, Captain. We're just being careful." She knew that tone too well. It was the tone of someone hiding something. She stayed silent, watching as they collected her belongings. Every instinct in her body screamed that she was being set up. When the search was over, Reeves turned toward her. You'll be escorted to a holding area until command clears you. Stay calm, follow instructions, and don't make any sudden moves. This is for your safety as much as ours. Maya forced a tight smile. Of course, Colonel. I've always believed in safety first. But inside, her mind was racing. Why were they treating her like a threat? Why was her superior's name suddenly off the record? And why did Reeves react when she mentioned the drive? As the guards led her away, Maya glanced back at the table. Her medal still lay there, its surface reflecting the red light from the alarm panels above. For a brief second, she noticed something strange. A small flicker on the metal, like a sensor catching a signal. She frowned. That metal had been through wars, explosions, and storms. It had never flickered before. They took her down another hallway, deeper into the base. The air grew colder, the walls thicker. Each door they passed was marked with numbers instead of words. A7, B4, C9. It was a maze of silence and steel. Finally, they stopped at a locked room. Wait here, one of the guards said. The door closed behind her with a hiss, leaving her alone. Inside the small room, Maya sat on a metal bench. The only light came from a small bulb above her head. She ran a hand through her hair, trying to piece together what was happening. Everything about this mission felt wrong. She was called to the base without warning, treated like a suspect, and stripped of her personal belongings. And yet, no one had told her what they were looking for. She thought about the metal again, how it flickered under the light. Could it have been reacting to something in the room? Or was it just her imagination? As she sat there, she heard footsteps outside, muffled voices, the sound of someone unlocking her bag again. Maya's heart pounded. She wasn't sure what they were doing, but she knew one thing. Her instincts had never failed her. Something inside that armory wasn't right. And whatever it was, her old metal had just begun to sense it before anyone else did. For the first time since she arrived, Maya wasn't just nervous. She was curious. She had a feeling this base was hiding more than secrets. It was hiding the truth. And that truth was about to find its way out, no matter how deep they tried to bury it. Maya sat quietly on the metal bench, the sound of her own breathing echoing in the small room. Every few seconds, she could hear faint voices outside, orders being whispered, doors sliding open, footsteps hurrying down hallways. She knew something strange was happening inside this base. It wasn't just about her or the data drive they took from her. This place was hiding something much bigger. After what felt like an hour, the door opened again. A young soldier stepped in, his face pale, his eyes tired. "Captain Torres," he said nervously. "The colonel wants you moved to the observation wing. Please come with me." Maya stood up slowly. "Observation wing?" she asked. "I'm not sick." The soldier avoided her eyes. "Orders from command, ma'am." He didn't say another word. He just turned and led her down a narrow hallway that seemed to twist deeper underground. The lights flickered occasionally, giving the corridor a ghostly look. The deeper they went, the colder it got. Maya could almost feel the weight of the base pressing down on her. As they walked, she noticed details she had missed earlier. The walls were lined with black security panels. Each door had no labels, just numbers and silent red sensors. Cameras followed every movement, tracking her like a target. The entire place looked less like a military base and more like a secret lab built to keep people or things inside. When they reached the end of the corridor, two guards stopped them. One scanned a badge, and the thick metal door slid open with a low hiss. The soldier nodded for Maya to step inside. She entered a large circular room filled with glowing monitors, satellite images, and several officers sitting at consoles. The room was dim, lit only by screens. A large map of the Middle East flickered on the central display. Red dots blinked across it, encrypted signals, coordinates, maybe targets. A voice spoke behind her. "Captain Torres." She turned. Colonel Reeves was standing there, his hands behind his back, his face as unreadable as before. "You said the data drive contained coordinates," he said. "Tell me, Captain, coordinates to what?" Maya frowned. "That information is above your clearance, Colonel. It was meant for command only." Reeves smiled slightly, but there was no warmth in it. Command is gone, Captain. I'm all that's left here. His words hit her like a shock. Gone? What do you mean, gone? He turned toward the big screen. 3 weeks ago, the entire command channel went dark. Every encrypted frequency, every satellite relay, all dead. We've been blind ever since. Maya stepped closer, scanning the red dots on the map. Then why bring me here? Why take my drive? Reeves looked at her with cold eyes. Because your drive is the only signal we've received since the blackout. And the moment you stepped onto this base, our system detected another hidden transmission, coming from inside your belongings. Maya froze. Inside my belongings? He nodded. Yes, something in your backpack emitted a coded pulse the moment you entered the base. That's why we took it. Her mind raced. The only thing she had in that bag were her photo, her notebook, the medal, and the encrypted drive. The drive couldn't have transmitted, it was offline, sealed, and protected. That meant, her eyes widened slightly. The medal. Reeves watched her reaction carefully. You just realized it, didn't you? He said quietly. That medal of yours, the one you keep like it's sacred, it's not what it seems. Maya took a slow breath. That medal was awarded to me after Operation Dawnfire. I've had it for years. It's just metal. Reeves stepped closer. It's not. We analyzed its signal. It carries an embedded microtransmitter, military grade. The kind used only in covert tracking operations. Someone planted it, either to protect you or to watch you. Maya's heart sank. She remembered how, years ago, a general had pinned that medal onto her uniform himself. It had been her proudest day. But now, the thought that it might have been used to track her felt like betrayal. She looked at Reeves. If it was transmitting, then who was it sending signals to? That's what we're trying to find out, he said. But here's where it gets interesting. The frequency it used matches the same one that's been hijacking our satellites for weeks. Maya's mind spun. Someone had used her medal, her honor, as a spy device. And the signal was connected to the same mysterious network that had shut down command. What are you suggesting? She asked quietly. Reeves turned back to the screens. I'm suggesting, Captain, that you might have brought the enemy straight to us. Her stomach twisted. That's impossible, she said. I would never. He raised a hand. I didn't say you did it knowingly, but someone used you. Someone close enough to know your history, your medals, your routines. Whoever it was, they're smart. They hid a transmitter inside something you'd never question. Maya clenched her fists. She thought of the missions she had completed, the comrades she had lost, the promises she had made. She had risked her life for loyalty, and now her loyalty was being used against her. The room went silent. The only sound was the steady hum of the servers. Then suddenly, one of the technicians shouted, "Sir, we're picking up the signal again." From the armory. Reeves turned sharply. What armory? The one where her belongings are being kept, the technician said. It's active right now. Maya's eyes widened. The medal, she whispered. Reeves barked an order. Lock down the armory. Now. Red lights flashed across the room, alarms blaring. The comm base transformed into chaos within seconds. Officers scrambled to their stations, radios buzzed with static, and the ground trembled faintly as the security doors sealed. Maya watched the flashing red dots on the screen multiply. The metal signal wasn't just transmitting, it was responding to something. Something close. And for the first time since she arrived, she realized the truth. The base wasn't just under suspicion, it was already compromised. As the alarms echoed through the corridors, Maya whispered under her breath, "Whoever planted that signal, they're not outside. They're already here." The alarm blared through the base, filling every hallway with a sharp red light that flashed like fire. Maya could hear the loud thumping of boots as soldiers rushed past, shouting orders. The whole place that had been quiet and cold just moments ago was now filled with chaos. Colonel Reeves barked commands into his radio, but his voice was tight with worry. Something had gone terribly wrong. "The signal's coming from the armory," one of the technicians shouted again, his eyes wide with fear. Reeves turned to Maya. Captain, what exactly was inside that metal? You said it was standard issue. It was. Maya snapped. It's the same metal I was given years ago. Nothing else. Reeves glared at her, his jaw tight. Then someone's been playing a dangerous game. That signal isn't just a tracker. It's a trigger. Maya's heart skipped a beat. A trigger? For what? He didn't answer. Instead, he shouted, "Lock down every entry. No one leaves or enters the space until we identify the source." The technicians worked fast, typing furiously on their keyboards. On the big screen, the red dots that marked the signal began to multiply. It was as if the metal's frequency had awakened something inside the base. Maya's mind raced. She couldn't understand how a piece of metal she'd worn for years, could cause all this chaos. Reeves finally turned to her. "Captain Torres, you're coming with me." They moved quickly through the hallways, escorted by 2 armed guards. The red lights flickered overhead as they headed toward the armory. The air felt thick with tension. Every soldier they passed looked nervous. Some whispered as Maya walked by, their eyes filled with suspicion, as if she had caused the danger herself. When they reached the armory, 2 guards were already there, blocking the door. "No one has gone in or out since the alarm started," one of them said. Reeves swiped his badge and entered the code. The metal doors slid open with a loud hiss. Inside, the lights were dim and cold. Maya saw her backpack sitting on a metal table under a spotlight, the metal lying beside it. A faint red glow blinked from its surface. "There," Reeves said, pointing. "That's the source." One of the technicians carefully approached the table, holding a small detector. As soon as he got close, the device in his hand started beeping rapidly. "Sir, it's not just transmitting, it's communicating," he said, his voice shaking. "Something's sending a signal back." Maya stepped closer, but the guards immediately raised their rifles. Reeves stopped them. "Let her look," he said quietly. Maya walked up to the table, her eyes fixed on the metal. It looked the same as always, scratched, dull, heavy with memories. But now it pulsed with a faint red light, almost like it was alive. She reached out and touched it gently. The moment her fingers brushed the metal, the light blinked faster. Then, the monitors in the armory lit up by themselves. Security footage began flashing across the screens, corridors, control rooms, the entrance gates, each camera showing strange static interference. It looked like someone was trying to hack the base's internal system. "Sir," the technician yelled, "we're losing control of the network." Reeves cursed under his breath. "Shut it down." "I can't," the technician shouted back. "The source is coming from inside the base's system. It's overriding our firewalls." Maya stared at the screens, her mind racing. The metal was no ordinary device. Whoever made it had connected it to the Black Site's communication system maybe years ago. And now something or someone was trying to use it. She turned to Reeves. "This isn't an accident," she said. "Someone planted this to gain access to the Black Site. They waited until I got here." Reeves gave her a hard look. "Then who were they waiting for, you, or the drive you brought?" That question hit her like a punch. Could the encrypted drive she carried have been part of the trap too? Had she unknowingly delivered the missing piece to whoever was behind this? Before she could answer, a loud voice echoed through the speakers. "Unauthorized transmission detected. System breach in progress." The alarms grew louder. Metal doors began to shut automatically across the base. Reeves shouted into his radio, ordering all units to secure their sectors. Maya could see fear on his face now, the kind of fear that even experienced soldiers couldn't hide. Suddenly, the technician monitoring the signal shouted again, "Sir, it's not an outside attack. It's internal. The source of the breach is inside this room." Everyone froze. The red light from the metal flashed wildly now. Then, without warning, a second signal appeared on the detector, stronger, closer, and human. Reeves looked around sharply. "Who else is transmitting?" he demanded. The guards glanced at each other, confused. Maya's instincts kicked in. She scanned the faces in the room and noticed one guard sweating heavily, his hand trembling near his weapon. "Reeves," she said softly, nodding toward him. It's him. Before anyone could react, the guard reached for his rifle. But Maya was faster. She lunged forward, grabbing the weapon's barrel and twisting it out of his hands. The man tried to run, but Reeves drew his pistol and fired a warning shot that hit the wall beside him. On the ground! Reeves shouted. The traitor froze, his chest rising and falling in panic. The technicians stared in shock as Maya kicked his gun away. Reeves moved in and tore a small device from the man's wrist. A transmitter, disguised as a military tracker. So that's how you were controlling the signal, Reeves said coldly. The guard said nothing, just glared at Maya with hatred. But she could see fear in his eyes. He had been caught. Reeves grabbed him by the collar. Who are you working for? The man's lips curled into a smile. You'll find out soon, he said softly. It's already too late. Before anyone could stop him, he bit down on something hidden in his mouth. A small capsule. Within seconds, he collapsed to the floor. Maya stepped back, her heart pounding. He'd rather die than talk, she whispered. Reeves looked at her, his face pale. Whatever this operation is, he said quietly, it's bigger than both of us. As medics rushed in, the metal still pulsed faintly on the table. The alarm slowed but didn't stop. The base was locked, the system compromised, and now they knew the enemy wasn't outside their walls. He was already here. And as Maya stared at the glowing metal, she realized it wasn't just a piece of her past anymore. It was a key, and someone had just turned it. The room was filled with silence after the chaos. The dead guard lay on the floor, his body still, his secret gone with him. The red alarm lights slowed down to a steady blink, painting everyone's faces in a dull crimson glow. Maya stood still, breathing heavily, her eyes fixed on the metal lying on the table. It was still glowing faintly, as if nothing had happened. Colonel Reeves gave a sharp order to the soldiers. Remove the body. Seal this place. No one leaves until we know exactly what he was doing. The guards obeyed, lifting the body away. The room smelled of metal, sweat, and fear. Maya looked around. The technicians were whispering to each other, nervous and confused. None of them dared to look her in the eye. Reeves turned to Maya. You said that metal came from Operation Dawnfire. Who gave it to you? Maya took a deep breath. It was awarded to me by General Lawton. He pinned it on my uniform himself. Reeves' face hardened. Lawton? That's not possible. Why? Maya asked. Because General Lawton was declared missing 2 years ago. They said his convoy was ambushed on the Syrian border. Maya froze. Her mind went blank for a moment. That can't be true, she said softly. I saw him just before I left Syria. He gave me that medal himself. He was alive. Reeves looked at her with suspicion. Then someone used his authority to give it to you. And whoever that was, they're part of this. Maya felt the ground shift beneath her feet. The medal she once saw as a symbol of honor now felt like a trap. A tool planted on her for a mission she didn't even know existed. Reeves walked over to the table and stared at the medal. This thing isn't just a transmitter, he said. It's some kind of access key. When the guard activated it, our system started unlocking restricted channels. Files that have been sealed for years. Maya stepped closer. Show me. Reeves nodded to one of the technicians. Open the last sequence the signal triggered. The man hesitated, then typed a few commands. The big screen on the wall lit up, showing a series of encrypted folders. As he decrypted them one by one, lines of classified documents appeared. Operation logs, black budgets, and maps filled the screen. Then something caught Maya's eye. A file labeled Project Echo. Open that one, she said quickly. The technician clicked it. Instantly, the screen showed a list of names, military officers, scientists, and agents. At the top of the list was a familiar name, General Lawton. Next to it, the words, active, unknown location. Maya's heart began to pound. He's alive, she whispered. Reeves frowned. If that's true, then everything we've been told about his death is a lie. And if he's connected to this project, he might be the one behind the black site breaches. Before Maya could reply, the screens suddenly flickered again. The words "unauthorized access" flashed across the display. Someone was trying to override the system remotely. "Sir!" shouted the technician. "Someone's hacking us again. The signal is bouncing from inside the base." Reeves slammed his fist on the table. "Trace it now." But the lights flickered, and the room went dark for 2 seconds. When the power returned, the screens showed something that made everyone stop. A video feed appeared, a dark room with a shadowed figure sitting in front of a monitor. The image was blurry, but the voice that came through was clear and cold. "Well done, Captain Torres," the voice said. "You finally brought the key back where it belongs." Maya froze. "Who are you?" she demanded. The figure chuckled softly. "Still the same as ever. Loyal, brave, and blind. You don't even realize what you've carried all these years." Reeves stepped forward. "Identify yourself." The figure ignored him. "That medal wasn't meant as a gift, Captain. It was a safeguard. A key designed to open doors that should never have been opened." "What doors?" Maya asked, her voice sharp. "The ones buried beneath this very base," the voice replied. "The ones your government built, then pretended never existed. You just triggered the first lock." Before Reeves could say anything, the screen went black. The transmission cut off completely. "Find where that came from," Reeves ordered. The technician typed quickly, then shook his head. "Sir, the signal came from inside the base, but it disappeared from our network. It's like the sender erased themselves." Maya's heart was racing. He said, "Beneath this base. What's under us, Colonel?" Reeves hesitated, his expression unreadable. "There's a restricted section below level 9. It's been sealed for almost a decade. Even I don't have clearance for it." "Then whoever just spoke to us does," Maya said quietly. The colonel nodded slowly. "And if they're inside the base, we're running out of time." They both turned toward the metal. It had stopped glowing now, as if its job was done. The silence in the room was heavy. Everyone could feel it. Something had been awakened, something no one fully understood. Reeves ordered the room to be cleared. Only he and Maya stayed behind. He looked at her. "Captain, I don't know who to trust anymore. But if that metal really came from Lawton, then you're the only one who can help us find him." Maya stared at the table. The metal looked harmless again, just a dull piece of her past. But she knew better now. Every mission she'd been on, every command she'd followed, could have been part of something much larger. Something she'd been used for without knowing. She looked up at Reeves. "If General Lawton is alive, I'll find him. And I'll find out why he turned me into his messenger." Reeves nodded slowly. "Good. Because if that man's still pulling strings, this base won't be the last to fall." As they left the armory, Maya looked back one last time. The metal sat there silently, its reflection glinting under the flickering lights. She had once carried it with pride. Now it carried questions, and those questions were about to lead her deeper into the heart of a mystery that could shake everything she believed in. Outside, the alarms had stopped, but the tension hadn't. Soldiers whispered, systems rebooted, and the whole base seemed to be holding its breath. Something had been triggered, not just in the metal of that metal, but in the truth that lay buried below their feet. Maya knew one thing for certain now. She wasn't just part of the mission anymore. She was the mission. The night inside the Black Site base was darker than usual. The corridors were almost empty, except for the echo of boots on metal floors. Maya walked beside Colonel Reeves, her face calm but her mind storming with questions. The metal that once made her proud now felt like a curse. Somewhere inside the base, a man she once trusted, General Lawton, might still be alive, and he had used her for something she didn't understand yet. Reeves stopped near a sealed elevator door at the far end of the underground hall. "This is it," he said. "The entrance to level 9. It's been sealed since before my time here." The metal door looked old, almost forgotten. Dust covered the control panel, and the digital lock blinked a dull red light. Maya looked at the panel, then at Reeves. "You said it was impossible to open without clearance." He nodded. "It is." She took the metal out of her pocket. It looked normal again, no light, no sound, but she had a feeling it was the key. She slowly pressed it against the scanner. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the panel beeped softly. The red light turned green. With a deep mechanical sound, the doors started to open. Reeves stared at it, speechless. "You've got to be kidding me." The doors slid open, revealing a long, dimly lit tunnel leading downward. A cold wind came from below, carrying the smell of dust and rusted metal. Maya took a breath. Looks like the metal wasn't done yet. They stepped into the elevator and began descending. The floor numbers went down slowly, 7, 8, and then 9. When the doors opened, the air felt different. It was colder, heavier. The corridor was lined with old security panels and flickering lights. Maya walked forward cautiously. Every sound echoed in the empty hall. "It's like no one's been down here for years," she said. Reeves scanned the walls. "No, someone's been keeping it alive. Look, the power is still running." They reached a large door at the end of the corridor with a faded sign that read, "Project Echo Command." Reeves pushed it open. Inside was a huge room filled with computers, screens, and cables snaking across the floor. Most of the monitors were off, but a few were glowing with strange symbols. Maya walked to one of the consoles. "These systems are ancient," she said, "but someone's been using them." As she pressed a few keys, one of the screens flickered and came to life. Files started loading automatically. Reports, surveillance feeds, and documents marked top secret. Then, a video began to play. It was old footage, soldiers standing in front of a test chamber. Maya leaned closer. The camera panned to show a man giving orders. Her heart skipped a beat. It was General Lawton. He looked younger, but his voice was unmistakable. "This is Project Echo," he said in the video. "The future of strategic warfare, human encryption. A system where memory becomes the key." Maya frowned. "Memory?" Reeves stepped closer. "You think they used soldiers as data carriers?" The video continued. "Each medal, each insignia, carries encoded memories from classified operations. The carrier won't even know they're holding them. In case of capture, the data can only be unlocked by a matching command code or the original creator." Maya's breath caught in her throat. That's why the metal reacted at the armory. It wasn't just metal. It was a memory vault. Reeves turned to her. "Then you've been carrying classified memories for years without knowing it." Maya stared at the screen, shaking her head. "But why me? Why would Lawton use me?" Suddenly, another video file auto-loaded. It showed Lawton again, this time speaking directly to the camera. His face was serious, tired. "If you're seeing this, it means the project has been compromised. I had no choice but to implant the final memory sequence into Captain Maya Torres. She's the only one I trust to bring the truth to light. When the metal activates, the hidden data will unlock the location of the real threat." Maya froze. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. "He trusted me?" Reeves crossed his arms. "Looks like he planned everything. You weren't a target, Maya, you were the failsafe." Maya felt her eyes sting. All the confusion, fear, and anger she had carried since the metal triggered now mixed with something else. A spark of hope. Lawton hadn't betrayed her. He had chosen her. The next moment, the computers started beeping rapidly. A new message flashed across the screens. "Sequence unlocked. Coordinates received." Reeves looked at the data. Those coordinates. They're inside this base. Before they could react, the entire room shook. Dust fell from the ceiling, and the lights flickered violently. An explosion echoed from above. "Someone's attacking the base," Reeves shouted. Maya grabbed her weapon. "They're trying to stop us from reaching whatever those coordinates lead to." Reeves nodded. "Then we move now." They ran through the corridor, following the signal tracker from the console. The sound of distant gunfire echoed through the tunnels. The base was under siege, but by who, no one knew. When they reached the end of the hall, they found another sealed door. On it was a warning sign. "Authorized personnel only, experimental storage." Maya pressed the metal against the scanner again. The light turned green. The door slid open with a heavy hiss. Inside was a small chamber filled with strange machines and a large container in the center, covered with frost. Inside the glass, a faint blue light glowed, like a heartbeat. Reeves stared at it. What is that? Maya stepped closer. The data on the side of the container showed a name, Project Echo Core Memory. She whispered, "This is what he wanted me to find." But before they could move further, footsteps echoed from behind. Maya turned sharply, aiming her gun. Out of the shadows stepped a figure, tall, calm, and wearing a dark uniform. When the light hit his face, Maya's world stopped. It was General Lawton, alive. He looked at her with a faint smile. "You finally made it, Captain," he said softly. "Now the real truth begins." Maya couldn't speak. Her hands trembled, her mind spinning between relief and shock. Lawton stepped closer. "You were never supposed to open that metal so soon. But fate always finds its way." Reeves raised his weapon. "General, you have a lot of explaining to do." Lawton's expression darkened. "You'll get your answers, Colonel. But first you need to understand the enemy isn't outside this base. It's been here all along." The room went silent again, only the hum of the frozen core echoing in the background. Maya realized that the truth she had been searching for was far more dangerous than she had imagined. The metal hadn't just opened a door. It had opened a war that had been hidden for years. The air in the hidden chamber felt heavy, as if the walls themselves were holding secrets. Maya stood frozen, staring at General Lawton, the man she had once saluted, trusted, and mourned. He was right in front of her, alive. His uniform was old and faded, his face older, marked by years of silence. Yet his eyes still carried that same calm authority that had once inspired an entire unit. Colonel Reeves kept his gun raised. "You've got 10 seconds to explain why we shouldn't put you in cuffs right now," he said coldly. Lawton didn't flinch. "Because if you do, Colonel, you'll never make it out of this base alive." Maya's voice trembled. "General, what's going on? They said you were dead." He looked at her with a faint, tired smile. "I had to disappear. The truth I found during Project Echo wasn't something our government wanted anyone to know." Reeves frowned. "You're saying this project was off the books?" "It started as a classified intelligence program," Lawton explained. "We were trying to create a secure way to store mission data, not in machines but in people. Soldiers who could carry information within memory-coded metals. That way, even if the systems failed, the truth would survive." Maya slowly understood. "So the medal wasn't just an award?" "No," Lawton said quietly. "It was a living key. You were my most trusted officer, Maya. You had no idea, but I encoded the last piece of Project Echo's data into your medal before I vanished." Reeves lowered his weapon slightly. "What kind of data?" Lawton turned toward the frozen chamber at the center of the room. Inside the glass, that soft blue light kept pulsing like a heartbeat. "That," he said, "is the Echo Core. It's an artificial intelligence built to predict global threats, wars, uprisings, assassinations. But someone inside our government twisted it into something else." Maya looked at him, confused. "What do you mean?" "The system was meant to protect humanity," he said. "But they modified it to control humanity. To predict rebellion before it happens, to silence people before they speak, to destroy countries before they rise. It became a weapon against freedom." Reeves clenched his jaw. "So you ran?" Lawton nodded. "I ran because I tried to shut it down. They sent a kill team after me, destroyed the records, and erased my name. I only survived because I knew how to disappear. But I had to make sure the final key, the medal, was in the hands of someone pure. Someone they would never suspect." Maya's eyes filled with emotion. "Me?" He nodded. "You." For a long moment, there was silence. Maya felt her chest tighten. All those years of guilt, of wondering why she survived when others didn't, now made sense. She had been carrying the truth all along. But before anyone could speak again, the base alarm blared loudly, echoing through the underground halls. Reeves checked his communicator. "They've breached level 7. Someone's coming straight for us." Lawton's eyes darkened. They found out the Echo Core has been activated. Maya looked at him. Who's attacking us? Not outsiders, he said. Our own agency. The ones who've been using Echo to manipulate world events. They can't afford for this truth to come out. The ground shook again as another explosion echoed above. Dust rained from the ceiling. Reeves shouted, "We need to move that core now." But Lawton shook his head. "You can't move it. It's wired directly into the base. The only way to save it and expose the truth is to upload its data to the global satellite network." Maya quickly stepped to the control console. "Tell me what to do." Lawton smiled faintly. "Always the brave one." He pointed to the console. "The medal on your chest. It's the only way to authenticate the upload. Without it, the system won't respond." Maya placed the medal on the scanner. The console lit up instantly, the blue light spreading through the room like a pulse. "It's working," she said. Reeves kept watch by the door, his weapon ready. The gunfire from above was getting closer. "You've got less than 5 minutes before they're here." Lawton began typing rapidly, his fingers moving with precision despite his age. "Once the data begins transferring, there's no turning back. Every secret the government buried, every operation they erased will go public." Maya looked at him. "And they'll come for us." He met her eyes. "They already have." The computer beeped, showing a progress bar. "Upload initiated, 10%. The sound of boots echoed from the hallway outside. Reeves fired a warning shot. "They're here." Maya ducked behind a console as bullets tore through the doorway. Sparks flew. 2 black-suited soldiers stormed in, their helmets marked with the insignia of the same agency that had once employed Maya. "Hold them off," Reeves shouted. Maya rolled to cover, firing back. Lawton kept typing, refusing to stop even as bullets hit the metal walls around him. The upload bar climbed 40%, 55%, 70%. One of the agents threw a smoke grenade inside. The room filled with gray mist, choking and blinding them. Maya's ears rang as she fired into the haze. She could barely see anything. Suddenly, she felt a hand grab her shoulder. She turned, ready to fight. But it was Lawton. He leaned close, his voice firm but soft. "If anything happens to me, don't stop the upload. Promise me." She shook her head. "No, you're coming with us." He smiled sadly. "Some of us don't get to leave." "Go, Maya. The truth has to live." Before she could argue, a shot rang out. Lawton stumbled back, clutching his chest. Maya screamed his name, catching him before he fell. "Keep the truth alive," he whispered, and went still. Tears blurred her vision, but she forced herself up, turning her pain into fury. She grabbed the console and covered it with her body, continuing the upload. The bar hit 90%. Reeves shouted, "We're almost there," as he fired at the remaining soldiers. Then the screen flashed bright blue. Upload complete, data transmitted. A loud hum filled the chamber. The echo core pulsed faster, and suddenly, the lights across the base began shutting down one by one. Maya looked at the glowing chamber one last time. "It's done," she whispered. "The world will know." Reeves pulled her toward the door. "We have to go before this place collapses." They ran as the walls shook behind them. Alarms blared, lights shattered, and fire spread through the corridors. Maya clutched the medal in her hand, the last piece of the man who had trusted her with the truth. As they escaped through the burning tunnels, Maya didn't look back. The truth was finally free, but the cost of it would haunt her forever. Above ground, the night sky burned red as the data began spreading across global networks, revealing the lies hidden for decades. Maya stood there, exhausted and broken, but her eyes shone with determination. She whispered softly, "You didn't die in vain, General. The world will know who you were." And somewhere in the distance, the faint echo of a metal's chime rang through the smoke, like a promise that the truth would never die. Smoke still rose from the burning remains of the black site base. The night sky above glowed red and orange, lit by small fires that refused to die. Maya stood on the rocky ground, staring at the flames that had swallowed everything. The base, the machines, and the man who had once been her greatest mentor. Her uniform was torn, her hands covered in dust and blood. But in her pocket, the medal still lay safe, warm against her palm. The last piece of General Lawton's legacy. Colonel Reeves walked up beside her, coughing from the smoke. The signal went global, he said. Every news network, every encrypted channel, they all got it. The truth's out. Maya nodded slowly, her eyes fixed on the distant fire. Then it worked. Reeves looked at her carefully. You understand what that means, right? The people who ran this program, they're not going to stop. You've just exposed the biggest secret operation in military history. They'll come for you. Maya turned her face toward him. Let them, she said quietly. I've been running from ghosts long enough. For the first time in years, she didn't feel like a soldier following orders. She felt like a person fighting for something real. As dawn began to break, rescue helicopters circled above. Soldiers and medics began searching through the wreckage for survivors. Maya and Reeves were guided toward one of the waiting transports. Inside, she sat silently as the helicopter lifted off, the base shrinking below them. From the sky, the black site looked small and fragile, like the lie it had been built on. Maya closed her eyes and remembered Lawton's last words. Keep the truth alive. Hours later, they landed at a military hospital. The world outside was already in chaos. News screens everywhere showed clips of classified footage, leaked documents, and voice recordings, proof of the corruption and secret manipulation hidden behind Project Echo. Governments denied everything, but the evidence was too strong. The people were angry. Whistleblowers came forward one after another. It was as if the truth had been buried under the ground for too long, and now it was rising like fire. But for Maya, there was no peace. She sat in a hospital room, staring at her reflection in the mirror. The woman she saw looked tired, older than her years. The medal sat on the table beside her, still shining faintly, as if it knew its mission was complete. Reeves entered quietly, holding a file in his hand. They're calling you a hero, he said. Media's saying you brought down a global conspiracy. Maya didn't smile. Heroes live. The people who helped me didn't. Reeves set the file down. There's something you should see. Inside were declassified photos and files. One of them made Maya's breath catch. It was an old picture of General Lawton, younger, standing with a group of scientists. In the corner of the image was a logo, not military but corporate. What's this? She asked. Reeves sighed. Turns out the Echo project wasn't completely destroyed. The military shut it down on paper, but a private contractor bought part of its data years ago. That company's still operating, off-grid. Maya's eyes hardened. So even after all this, someone else has it? He nodded. And they might already be rebuilding what Lawton tried to destroy. She stood up slowly. Then the fight isn't over. Reeves gave her a look that was part warning, part respect. You've done enough. You deserve rest. Maya shook her head. Rest doesn't bring justice. Outside the hospital, reporters were shouting her name. Cameras flashed as she stepped into the light, but she didn't stop to speak. She walked past them, her mind already racing with what she'd learned. Over the next few weeks, the world changed. The truth Lawton had hidden exploded across every nation. Protests broke out. Leaders resigned. The name Project Echo became a symbol both of power and of betrayal. But in the shadows, whispers spread of new experiments, new bases, and new projects born from the ashes of the old one. One evening, as the sun set behind the city, Maya sat on a park bench wearing civilian clothes. Her short hair blew in the wind. Children laughed nearby, their voices soft and innocent, untouched by the lies she'd uncovered. She took the medal from her pocket and looked at it carefully. It was scratched and worn, but still beautiful in its own way. For a moment, she remembered the day Lawton had given it to her. She could almost hear his voice again. You'll carry more than honor, Maya. You'll carry truth. A man in plain clothes walked up and sat beside her quietly. It was Reeves. He looked tired but calm. They're still searching for you, you know, he said softly. Half the agencies in the country want to question you. Maya smirked faintly. Then they'll have to find me first. He chuckled. You really don't stop, do you? She looked out at the sunset. Neither did he. Reeves nodded. What will you do now? Maya turned to him, her eyes steady. I'm going to find the people who took Echo's data. And I'm going to finish what he started. Reeves looked at her with quiet admiration. If you go down that path, there's no coming back. I know, she said. But some things are worth not coming back from. They sat in silence for a while. The sky turned gold, then red, then purple. Finally, Maya stood up and placed the medal gently on the bench. He gave this to me so the truth could survive, she said softly. Now it doesn't need me anymore. Reeves looked at the medal, then back at her. You're really walking away? Maya smiled faintly. Not walking away, just walking forward. She turned and began to walk down the street, disappearing into the crowd. The city lights flickered on around her, glowing like tiny stars. Somewhere deep inside, she felt peace for the first time in years, and strength. Behind her, the medal caught the last ray of sunlight. For a brief moment, it glowed softly, as if the spirit of Lawton himself was still watching over her. Then the light faded, leaving only silence and the whisper of the wind. But Maya Torres was not gone. She had become something more, a living echo of truth. The world might forget her name, but her actions had already changed everything. And somewhere, in a dark office filled with computer screens, a hidden voice whispered in anger, "She knows too much." Maya didn't hear it, but she would soon. The battle for truth was far from over, it had only just begun. And as the night swallowed the city, one thing was certain. No matter who tried to bury it again, the truth would always find a way to rise.